It gives me special pleasure to introduce the next speaker, who we have been friendly for so many years, a person whose personal contribution to Canopus-V cannot be over-exaggerated. I'm talking about Mr. Oleg Nikonov, who represents VNIIEM Corporation. He represents VNIIEM and the Belarusian Academy of Sciences as well.
Dear colleagues, I would like to greet you here. Thank you for attending my presentation. Just as Viktor Lavrov mentioned, I would like to familiarize you today with the products manufactured by VNIIEM Corporation. I will also tell you about our technical and organizational plans. To begin with, those of you who don't know, I'd like to tell you about VNIIEM Corporation. This is an integrated Roscosmos subsidiary which is handling a number of activities. One activity is assembly of satellites in the interest of meteorology. We have a Meteor series satellites, and one of them is on orbit. Soon we're going to launch another one. Yes, last year we launched 2 monitoring satellites. They're low-weight satellites. We're like trailblazers in Russia, and we have very interesting cooperation between Belarus, Russia, United Kingdom. Next activity would be scientific satellites. In other words, we have very good space presence. Next activity is our cooperation with Gazprom. We manufacture magnet suspensions, and we are leading company in the world. Even Siemens buys it from us for their gas pumping stations. Another activity are the security systems for nuclear power plants. Virtually all NPPs which are built by the Russian Federation have our specialists employed. We also work with fleet, with Navy, in terms of electrical mechanical equipment. So this is a brief background about our corporation. Corporation includes about 7 different enterprises with a total manforce of about 7,000 people. It was mentioned here before, and Vladimir stole part of my presentation, so I will be brief. In July, we launched as a cluster launch 2 satellites, one Belarusian and the Canopus-V. Specs of these satellites are shown on this slide. A resolution of about 2 meters in panchromatic and about 10 meters in multispectrum. Here you can see some of the samples of our imagery which we have acquired. This is an image of Krasnoyarsk with some zooming. This is the image of Chicago. The images are known for having very good geometric precision because of focal plane accuracy, and they're very close in terms of their characteristics to, perhaps you heard about such a satellite called Kometa that used to be one of the best cartography satellites in Russia. This is Doha. You can see that these images are quite good, and this is Fontainebleau image which we acquired in September from the Belarusian BKA a satellite, and our colleagues kindly provided this image. This image was acquired, if I'm not mistaken, September 13th this year. Now, right after we acquired first materials, we disseminated these materials among all the organizations working in the remote sensing data field for them to provide their feedback about the quality of these materials. These are the list of organizations which have received our materials: Rakurs, Zond, and Inoter. The overall feedback about the quality of our Canopus-V and BKA satellites is precision of plane coordinates is 3.5 meters and better. Linear resolution is there, and 12.7 is multi-spectrum accuracy. This is linear resolution. We acquired it by using different methodologies. We use methodologies which are used in Cerium Z, in State Center Priroda, or nature, and all specialists agree on this, and we have a certificate to prove it, that the materials from Canopus-V are quite acceptable for the maps of the scale of 1 to 5,000, and for upgrading of the maps of 1 to 25,000 scale. Next slide shows the precision of the precision of orientation without ground control points. You can see here the RPC area here is about 36 meters, and this is a quite a good precision for small and lightweight spacecraft, and no other similar spacecraft have such orientation precision. Now I would like to show to you the capacities of our imagery. We asked our partners from GIS Panorama to process our images and to make a map based on the Canopus-V images. We took an image of our Canopus-V of Terran. On the right you can see the vector map of Terran. There are some differences, as you can see. Next, we started to update the old map. That was the old map, and that's what we acquired with the Canopus-V imagery. So as a result, we could update the old map of Terran. Vladimir Sidelnikov already mentioned that all of us are working along the lines of creating constellations, and this is an overall world tendency when GeoI and Digital Globe, they're creating their satellite constellations, and we have analyzed the needs of different agencies like in Russia and Belarus, because we're working with our Belarusian colleagues, and we have identified the needs of the main potential consumers for the materials with the resolution of about 2.5 meters. These are the requirements of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, Ministry of Natural Resources, Ministry of Regional Development, and so on and so forth. And based on the results of this analysis, we have identified the need for the number of satellites for these agencies and ministries to meet those needs. And we have calculated as a result that whereas now we have only one Canopus-V on the orbit and BKA also, because the decision has been made to merge them into a tandem or group. And next year we're going to make a real constellation made up of 5 satellites of the Canopus-V type, which will be covering the whole world. And the main advantages of this lightweight spacecraft are that single launcher can put on orbit up to 5 different spacecraft like that, or 4 spacecraft, and which will create a constellation out of one fell swoop. And the terms of reference for establishment of such constellation has been signed by all ministries and agencies. It was endorsed by Roscosmos, and we're starting this work for serious. As a result, now I would like to tell you to continue the series of Canopus-V series. Now through our cooperation, we're thinking about new modifications of this satellite. This is a very good platform. It is like a Lego erection set, and we can mount all types of equipment there. I would like to demonstrate to you 3 different modifications and configurations that we consider. First, Canopus-V number 1. If you look at it attentively, you can see that the resolution of this spacecraft is 2.5 meters in panchromatic and 5.5 in multispectrum, but with the coverage area of only 5 kilometers. This shows the actual payload and the platform. Second option, Canopus-V number 2, with a resolution of 1.5 and 3, respectively, with 65 kilometer coverage. Here you can see the overall configuration of VM1 with a 100 kilometer swath. We can put 4 on the the cowling of the launcher and put 4 of them. If we're talking about Canopus-V2, we can launch 3 such satellites with one launcher, which makes their costs much lower. And then number 3 option, this is an option and modification which we are studying and thoroughly investigating at the moment, and we have already potential customers for this. This is a satellite which will have the resolution of 0.5 in panchromatic and 1.1 in multi-spectrum band, with the coverage of about 26 kilometers. Here you can see the view on this satellite. We can put up to 2 such satellites under the cowling of the launcher. Now I have described our technical prospects, and this issue has been mentioned before. It's quite problematic at the moment to organize the dissemination of these materials. In that respect, we're in luck because we work jointly with Belarusians. And now by a joint decision of the government of Belarus and Russia, the decision was made to establish a joint venture which will be working on dissemination of materials acquired from Canopus-V and Belarusian satellite. VNIIEM, on the other hand, has received a directive from the Russian government to be member of this joint venture. Roscosmos authorized us to own 15% commercially of this resource. Belarusian side is preparing all the necessary documents for that as well, and we hope that within the next 3 weeks such joint venture will be finally established. The main advantage of a joint venture are described here. This JV will be acting as an operator, will be a legal entity, and in the very beginning it will be the corporation of VNIIEM and the Belarusian representative OP Geoinformation Systems from Belarus, the 2 partners. 3 activities, products and services based on space imagery, production services, and the information access services. Next stage for us, and I would like to use this opportunity to announce it, we would like to propose the already existing constellation. It is open for other satellites. We suggest establishing of small weight satellite constellations who could perform a broad range of tasks and activities. The main advantages of such international constellation would be the following. A country would pay only for 1 satellite, but will get the opportunities of the whole constellation, like you pay for 1 satellite, but get the advantages from 4. This slide shows those advantages which are provided by the participation in such international constellations, and in conclusion, the establishment of such international constellation will upgrade the international respect or reputation of your country, and organization will provide you additional opportunities to develop innovations in the remote sensing field, and it will create additional boosts and motivation for closer cooperation between parties on introduction of the most advanced methods of processing of remote sensing imagery and their promotion on international market. So that's how I tried to quite briefly and rapidly tell you about VNIIEM Corporation, about our plans for the future. That's all I had to tell you. Thank you. Thank you, Oleg. Will there be questions for Mr. Nikonov? Other questions? No questions. Thank you very much for a very interesting report.